Yo YouTube, happy 4th of July to the American people I talk to in the Transformers YouTube community, and also my other American friends, and America in general, because I'm feeling generous today. It is the 4th of July. I'm here to do my video response to the top 25 Transformers that was posted on the Transformers YouTube community group on Facebook. It was actually originally done by IGN. Someone posted the link and said, yeah, let's do our own. I can't remember exactly who posted it, but, just be grateful I didn't call you Ben erroneously, like I did with Dave Shotton. Remember your name now. So yeah, this is my top 25. My viewing experience doesn't really cover the comics that much. However, it does cover, in terms of TV and stuff, I own the Takara collection on box set on DVD, Headmasters, Master Force, Super God, Master Force, and Victory. Yes, and even that episode of Zone. So mine will be less about the comics. I've read some comics. This is more TV based for me, because that's how I roll out. And another thing, the order that I wrote them down in when I made my list initially is the order they're going to stay in, because that is, in my opinion, shows their significance that I remembered them first. I made an example on Facebook using Shockwave and Lockdown ranked higher than Shockwave in mine, because I thought of Lockdown sooner, so he holds more significance because of that. So I'm sticking to my guns on this list. Excuse me. Let's get cracking with number 25. 25 is Shockwave. Like I said, I don't read many of the comics. I've played the Cybertron games, War 4 Fall Off, and Rise of the Dark Spark. Shockwave features in the latter two, I think. it's DLC for multiplayer on the first one. Obviously he was in the cartoon a bit. He wasn't as featured as much as some of the other ones, like, because he was on Cybertron most of the time, and he kept missing his targets. Dr. Smooth and NG Randall, I think it is, did that Shockwave's Burden, which was awesome, which really highlighted that. So yeah, Shockwave, I appreciate his significance and his legacy. He was in Dark of the Moon, but it turns out Sentinel was the big bad in that. So yeah, Shockwave is at number 25. Like I said, I understand and respect his significance and the character, but there are just more that I've had more experience watching and stuff, if that makes sense. Number 24. Crankcase. The Dark of the Moon Crankcase. And it comes back to making an impact. And I just love the fact that Crankcase, and the other Dreads for that matter, look like Predators. I'm a fan of the Predator franchise. I've got the movies on Blu-ray. I don't have any collect figures or anything, but I've played the games. That Concrete Jungle on the PS2, AVP on the Xbox 360. I didn't even play on the AVP game. You play as the humans, the predators, and the aliens, and I didn't even touch the alien and the human levels. I just stuck with Predator because I just love the Predators, and the films are good, and I do think Predator 2 is underrated. And then, we've got Crankcase from Dark of the Moon, who looks like a Predator. The highway battle was pretty cool, and the whole Mexican standoff with Ironhide and Sideswipe. It was good. I liked that part. I mean, if Crankcase had looked more generic and, more Protoform-esque, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much, but it was just like, there was this little fanboy moment where I was imagining a crossover and you had Ironhide shooting the fuck out of a Predator, and then I half expected Will to come along and say, get to the chopper. It was just one of those, just a little moment. But yeah, that is why Crankcase, despite his lack of screen time, is on my list. Let's move on, shall we? Number 23. Prowl. Now, there's another thing I want to kind of take into account here, and I'm trying not to use this aspect, is I do Transformers text-based RP on another site, and there's someone there, she plays Prowl really well, and a lot of people play their characters really well. I'm trying not to take that into account, because they're my friends, and they're playing these characters really well, admittedly, but I don't want to try and make it that personal. Like saying, oh, Prowl's on this list because my mate plays it, my friend does it really well. No, I want to try and keep the personal portrayals and stuff out of this. That's the same reason I won't really be using my experiences with my Transformers of Soap in this, because, I mean, I've got Ultra Magnus on the list. It's quite high up the list, but my reason for him being high on the list isn't because I use him in my video series. It contributes, but it's nothing to do with the portrayal. So I'll stick with what I've got here. And, Prowl is at 23. I like the character, I like the police car. And he was just a good character in the cartoons, and he died epically in the movie, and then showed up in Headmasters. How? But, I've read some of the things in the comics as well, and he's... I don't know how to put it, really. He just strikes a chord. It's like you've got the Autobots that are fighting for peace and, justice and all that shit. And then you've got the Autobot police car. I mean, very few can truly epitomise what the Autobots stand for. Optimus Prime, obviously. But, Prowl taking the police car old mode. And, it just takes it up a notch. I mean, you look at Ironhide and he's like, fuck the humans, kill them in the movies. And, it's badass, but it's not Autobot. But, Prowl as the police car is like saying, yeah, I'm doing this. And I've also met Michael Bell. And I had my photo done with I chatted with Michael Bell at Auto Assembly in 2012. So, yeah. Prowl is awesome. I do like him. I don't think I explained that one that well, but number 22. There's another police car. It's Barricade. And there is one reason, I mean, there are a few reasons why Barricade is on this list. The main one being that it took me 6 months to find the toy from the 2007 movie, and I punted that bitch like crazy. And I'd almost given up. I bought the Recon Barricade and got that, and I was happy with my lot. I would have settled with that, and then we just found the normal coloured Barricade in Toys R Us, and I was like, yes. That's not the only reason. I mean, it was a big hunt for the figure, which consequently gave me a bigger interest in the character. And just like the way he fucking shouted at Sam, and he was like he was menacing, he was threatening. And he disappeared, but then he came back, because apparently in the comics he got his head cut off and then stitched back on, and then he was back for Dark of the Moon. But it also comes into the gaming experience. Barricade was one of the ones I played as, you play as in the Transformers movie game. And I think you play as him in War for Cybertron as well. You can do. And so, that is why I've got Barricade on this list, because I just enjoy the character. And it's like what they said. The writers of the film, they just thought it'd be fun and perverse to have a Decepticon police car, and I agree. It fucking does the job nicely. Number 21. Blaster. I do like Blaster. It's just the whole hipster thing that he does. And another thing is that, well, I'd say Jazz is the more hip one, but Blaster, disregard the tape cassette thing and everything, but is what a cool cat is a cool cat, and it's someone you'd want to have a drink with and just chat with and talk bollocks to and stuff. He is one of the more personable I'd say, more easily relatable characters. Because he's just fun. And I've got his Fall of Cybertron toy, and that is a, excuse the pun, blast. And his bio about, you know, roaring into battle with rock and roll that the Vikings would be proud of. It's just, it kind of makes him just seem that much more badass. So yeah, that is why I like Blaster, because he's just a fun character. There it was. Jazz. He called people bitches in the first film. I love that. I'd never heard a Transformer call someone a bitch before. And yeah, that's not the only reason I like him. It was another one, a bit like Blaster. However, he was less rock and roll, he was more, you know, in the R&B type stuff, if you will. And he was another one of those friendly ones that kind of, you know, you could relate to. It was, he seemed more human than some of the other ones. He was a bit like Hound in that respect. I don't think I've got Hound on this list because, you know, Jazz was more prominent. I considered Hound, but I left him off in the end. But, yeah, Jazz was just a fun robot. His alt mode looked nice. You get to play as him in Fall of Cybertron and Rise of the Darkspark, and they're fun little bits. And he comes out with these little wisecracks and stuff. Gift of the Gab, that's what Jazz had. Jazz and Blaster had the gift of the gab. And it kind of, it humanised them more. I mean, even in the movie, you know, when the Michael Bay movies, when there's so little character development, you know, like I said, Jazz was calling people bitches, that, you know, worked. But he also didn't want Optimus to leave Bumblebee behind. So he had the morality there as well. That's, you know, Jazz is probably one of the most human Transformers that they have ever done. I mean, even, you know, even the Michael Bay movies kind of pulled it off. And it's a shame he died. But yeah. So that was number 20. I really should have numbered these. I just got them in a list. So I'm going to go with and put numbers just so I know where I am. Number 19. Victory Leo. Those of you unfamiliar with Victory Leo, he is from the Japanese-only Victory series. He can combine with Starsaber to make a fucking awesome combination. And he is the rebuilt form of God Jinrai, who God Jinrai was the Autobot leader in Super God Master Force. And because Japan didn't follow the comics or anything, they didn't follow the rebirth. They did their own series called the Headmasters. Then after that they introduced the Power Masters, which they called God Masters, with a new concept. It was humans instead of Nebulons. They introduced the Pretenders that way as well, and Overlord and all that. They did their own series of it, and God Jinrai was the Autobot leader, and God Jinrai was basically, in a nutshell, the Power Master Optimus Prime mold, but as a 18-year-old Japanese character. Human, sorry. Yeah, we got rebuilt into Victory Leo, and what I liked about Victory Leo, it wasn't just the fact he could combine with Starsaber and do the whole badass fly faster than any bastard ever thing. It was the emotional trauma that he went through after the rebuilding process. He was damaged, he was feral. Even after he'd got over the initial recovery of that, he still seemed to retain those aspects, those traits. It took, you know, Jan being in danger, I'll just call him Jan, because, yeah, being in the kid, Starsaber's adopted son. It took him being in danger to, you know, kind of settle him down, balance him out. But it was just for that moment that Victory Leo had been rebuilt. And I mean, I've never been rebuilt, I've never been reborn or anything. But I can't imagine the trauma that anyone would go through for that. Or, you know, suffering. He basically died. That's how it is. Jinrai died. They had to kill him and rebuild him. Well, no, they had to let him die so they could rebuild him or something like that. But it's just, you know, anyone who's been in a near-fatal experience, you know, and then you come back and you're living with that, faced with it for the rest of your life. And, you know, of course, Victor Leo was a lion, so it kind of exaggerated that whole thing. He was also a triple changer. Yeah, it's just, I think Victor Leo was really well done in the Victory series. And that's why he's on this list. Number 18. Sixshot. And I, with this one, I'm going with a specific version of Sixshot, and that is the Headmaster's version. He didn't do much in the Rebirth that I can remember, but he, in the Headmaster's series, was a member of the Six Ninja Clan. We didn't really see anyone else from the Six Ninja Clan. Six Knight and Great Shot maybe, but you know, they're ambiguous as fuck. He was a Decepticon, he worked with Galvatron and all that, but over time he realised that it was the wrong choice. He was trapped on a planet with Daniel, Spike's son, and if you think Daniel was bad in the movie and season 3 of the G1 cartoons, he was so much worse in Headmasters. He cried like a bitch every 5 minutes. Wheelie was a cunt as well, but I'm not going to get into that. Yeah, Sixshot was stranded on this planet with Daniel, and Sixshot actually protected him. He had his back, he looked after him, he took care of him, because the little human child couldn't survive on his own. So Sixshot, because of the honour and that, he suddenly rediscovered his honour, or he might have already had the honour, I don't know. He killed Ultra Magnus as well. Let's not forget that. He owned Ultra Magnus's ass. But he took care of this kid. And, you know, he was betrayed himself by the Decepticons, or abandoned, so to speak. And he even came back and helped the Autobots at the end. And I think he protected Daniel, and he was, you know, it was just one of those things. It was honour. He was an honourable character. Say what you would, killed Ultra Magnus. He probably killed a bunch of other Autobots. Yes, he did. He killed Chrome Dome's friend as well. One of the little Headmaster dudes that hadn't been able to learn the transformation method. They planted a bomb on him. And, but he kind of redeemed himself. And, you know, if it were me stranded on a planet with Daniel, I'd have let the cunt die. But that's just me. But yeah, Sixshot. He was honourable. Clearly more honourable than me. Number 17. I'm out. Yeah, Sixshot was 18. 17 is Soundwave. Yeah, you're probably wondering why he isn't higher up on that. Soundwave was awesome in Gen 1. I've seen him a bit in the comics, not that much. Revenge of the Fallen, he didn't do much. I didn't see much of him in animated. I haven't seen all of animated yet. Prime, I'm on the fence about the Prime Soundwave. Dark of the Moon, he was okay. But you know, the Gen 1 Soundwave is where it's all at. With his cassettes. Laserbeak, Ravage, Buzzsaw, Ratbat, Rumble, Frenzy, Rumble, whichever way you're going to go with that. I just liked him, but he was good as a spy. I mean, espionage was his thing. Quite how he pulled it off sometimes, because there were times when I thought that the Autobots were complete cocks for overlooking that. But it was his strength. Espionage was his thing, and in Headmasters he had that fuck-off fight with Blaster that was a lot better than their whole, you know, nightclub one. I what it was called, Club Soundwave or something like that, when they just basically did noisy tits at each other like that. That was all they did in the film, in the US episode, the nightclub one. But in Japan, they just went all out and bust the fuck out of each other, smashing glass and ripping arms and limbs off and shit. It was fun. But yeah, he is a kick-ass character, but there are, like I said, same with Shockwave. There are ones that I appreciate more. That's why, like, in Darkman and Crankcase with the head of Shockwave, it was just the whole Predator thing. And, you know, it kind of gave me a fanboy moment. Shockwave hasn't really given me that. But yeah, Soundwave at 17. Number 16. These next, like, two after Soundwave are probably going to be like, what? 16 is Starscream. Oh, I liked him in the Generation 1 cartoon. He was just a whiny bitch, and, you know, with his high-pitched voice, always trying to take over, and he never could, because he was shit. I do like the Armada version of Starscream, sorry. He kind of betrayed what he stood for in G1, because he actually joined the Autobots for a bit, and he did the honourable thing in the end. But I like that. You know, it kind of, you know, no one's truly a lost cause, if you will. I mean, even Galvatron in Armada fucking, oh, well, I have to die so this ends and Unicron can't win. And it's like Prime was at the end, I don't deserve the Matrix and shit. Yeah. You know, no one's a complete lost cause. Before Armada, you might have thought Starscream was. He did the Ghost thing as well a couple of times in, like, Season 3 and Beast Wars. And there was another thing as well, in the movies, he never really betrayed Megatron. He was always loyal to Megatron. In the cartoons, you could understand why Megatron was so pissed at him all the time. Starscream, you bastard, you tried to kill me! And shit. In the movies, it was like, you failed me yet again, Starscream. And it's like, well, to be fair, he hasn't tried doing anything bad to you. I mean, the movie comics might have projected that a little differently, but in terms of, you know, the movies, he was loyal to Megatron. So, you know, he kind of got a raw deal with that. Megatron was just being a cock. But, now, yes, Starscream is at number 16, I believe. Yes, 16 Starscream. I should have fucking numbered it. I'm going to do this in two parts. I'm going to number the rest. I will stop at 10. Because this is going 22 minutes. I'll stop at 11, actually. So, number 15. Ready for the hate rage? Megatron. He's at 15. He doesn't even crack the halfway mark. Because there are other ones that I enjoy more. I mean, Megatron was fine for what he was. Severely underused in the movies. Yes, he had the awesome fight with Prime in the 86 movie. But the problem is, he never really, in a lot of iterations, never really stayed as Megatron. I mean, Optimus Prime was always Optimus Prime. Megatron was like a 50-50 sort of thing. He got reformatted into Galvatron in the 86 movie. He got reformatted into Galvatron in Armada and Energon and Cybertron. And it's, you know, he turned into a gun, which, you know, was kind of inconvenient at some point. He was a good villain, but, you know, he was never consistent. He was never always there. Like, Optimus Prime was always Optimus Prime. Megatron wasn't always Megatron. And so, it's kind of a given that, you know, in any Transformers series, people would expect him to become Galvatron. I'm surprised it didn't happen in Revenge of the Fallen. I heard that was only not done They brought him back as Megatron so as not to confuse the casual audience. But 86, the Unicron trilogy, I'm surprised he didn't do it in Beast Wars, or Animated, or Armada. So yeah, I guess it's kind of not, he's not always reformatted into Galvatron, but more times than he should be, they go the Galvatron route. Even RID did, didn't they? I know there's a Galvatron toy. Yeah, so that's why Megatron isn't higher up, because he was always turned into someone else. And, you know, sometimes I do enjoy Galvatron more. Galvatron isn't on the list, by the way, but, you know, it's a tough one to decide, Megatron is. But yeah, he's in at number 15. Number 14 is Bruticus. It's probably become my favourite combiner. There are, well, of the westerns, because there is another combiner ahead. But Bruticus, you can probably put it down to the Fall of Cybertron game, even Rise of the Darkspark to some extent, because you actually get to play as Bruticus in that, and you play as the Combaticons, or some of the Combaticons, and you get to just rain down destruction and everything, and it kind of ties in with the Gen 1 in a way, because it kind of explains more on what Bruticus was about. You know, the Combaticons, they were good in the car. I like the fact that they were bitter for being imprisoned, and that they took their rage out on everyone, and you know, it kind of makes sense. And in the Flawless Cybertron games, their story, I feel, is well done. They do come across as badass fucking military types, and see, I like badassery. That's why I haven't put Devastator in here, because yes, he was big and he was the first of the combiners and that, but he was a fucking building team. I mean, there are other combiners I've considered before Devastator, like Rail Racer and Raiden, but probably because, you know, I think Devastator was done too much. Not too much, but it was done a lot more than the other combiners. And, you know, I like the whole Brute except for in the game. I like he's just big and he's bad and he's a bastard, and even 5 separated, they're all big and bad and bastards. And I remember Swindle trying to fucking haggle with Galvatron, and Galvatron's like, shut the fuck up. But, you know, they've got balls, they're brazen, they are unapologetic about what they do. And that is what I like about Combaticons and Bruticus. And, you know, I picked up the Fall of Cybertron Bruticus toy, and I love it. It is my first Bruticus, but, you know, it has its faults, but I do enjoy it. So, number 13 is Hotshot. And I mean the Armada Hotshot. Because it was, I'll be honest, when I first watched Armada, I thought Hotshot was voiced by Rob Van Dam. It was just the whole dude thing and all that. And I just liked how he was so chill about everything. And it was, you know, Optimus died in Armada and Hotshot took over. You know, it's a typical Hot Rod thing. But it was just like, Optimus is dead. Dude, you're leading. Dude. It was just... that's the thing with Hotshot. I mean, the toy was shit. Yeah. But you could make 1,000 stoner jokes with Hotshot, because he just had that quality about him. And is another one, he was fun and he was relatable, but, you know, he wasn't childish or anything, or overly childish. He wasn't Bumblebee levels of childish. He would, you know, He's one of those that if you probably said, hey Hotshot, let's go out for a joint, he'd probably join you. And yeah, that was just, and in battle he wasn't bad, and he was the one chosen to take over after Optimus died for about 5 minutes. But it's, I have fond memories of Hotshot, the character. Right, he was 13, wasn't he? Hotshot was, yes. Number 12, Wheeljack. This basically covers all but the Dark of the Moon version that they called Q. A lot of people won't acknowledge him as Wheeljack. I am one of them because he just looks stupid with his fucking hair. I mean, I've got stupid hair at the minute, but at least it isn't blue and out of place, and I haven't got a robot head and face, so you're wondering why I haven't got hair, why I have got hair. Wheeljack, he's gone through some transitions over the years. He started out as the mad scientist with his wacky inventions. Yeah, that's so cool. He was a scientist. He even managed to some degree, curb Devastator and bring him over to the Autobot side. He did the Dinobots. Yeah, it was a bit iffy, and he managed to tame them, but not without losing their intelligence and making them fit. But he did a lot. He contributed a lot in Generation 1, and then we didn't really see him again until Armada, where he was a Decepticon because he'd been betrayed by Hotshot. Or no, Hotshot tried to save him but couldn't. Hotshot didn't betray him, but Wheeljack felt he'd been betrayed. The toy was a complete. It didn't look like Wheeljack. Not even the fucking ear piping. It just didn't resemble Wheeljack at all. The only thing Wheeljack about it was the name. And so I'm going to disregard that as well. But then you go to Prime, because I haven't read much of the comics, remember, so I'm going by what I know. And he was a fucking badass in Prime. He was a fucking ninja bastard wrecker twat who didn't give a fuck about the chain of command or anything. The best thing about it was he looked like Wheeljack. He'd gone from a fucking mad scientist with his wacky inventions to a badass bastard. And I completely bought it. I did. I fucking bought the shit out of that. And I just loved it, It might have seemed too radical for some people, but, it looked like Wheeljack. You could believe it was Wheeljack. And he was also still, scientifically capable, but, that was underplayed more in favour of let's make Wheeljack hard, which they did. And, Wheeljack was one of my favourite Prime characters. And is, an affectionate one for me in terms of Generation 1. So, that's why Wheeljack is on this list. At 12. Number 11. Now, IGN did the Dinobots, and they did Grimlock on their list. I'm not doing that. Number 11 is Swoop. And only Swoop. No Snarl, no Slag, no Sludge, no Grimlock. Grimlock's on the list, so don't fucking hate. But Swoop, on his own, because I feel, apart from Grimlock, he was one of the better fleshed out Dinobots. Probably the better fleshed out Dinobot after Grimlock. Because I can't remember what the episode is exactly, but Carly and Spike got stuck on Cybertron. The Dinobots had gone missing, they'd been captured or something. And their guide for it was Swoop. They found Swoop, and Swoop got shot, but he kept on fighting. And, Swoop came through for them. And this was when the Dinobots were being all stubborn and all, me no like you, me no do what you say. But Swoop came through for the humans. He guided Spike and Carly, he protected Spike and Carly, and he even got some decent dialogue explaining what happened, and he came across as less simple than the other Dinobots, and he kind of came across that way as well in Fall of Cybertron, but it's kind of like he's the most intelligent of the Dinobots, Grimlock's the most fierce and the most insubordinate, if you will. He's the leader of his group, but he's not the leader of the Autobots, and he wants to be. But Swoop was... He was more interesting in the sense that he seemed more intelligent, and he had that moment to shine. He had his moment. And that's what I liked about Swoop. It was that he was given character development more than the other Dinobots. It's just a shame they fucked it all up in Season 3 with the Dinobots. But that's the way it is. I'm going to stop here now before it starts lagging. I'll probably edit this together in one piece. But, you know, that was number 11. Yes, I will be back with my top 10.